welcome to the Snowies Camping Show. Today we are talking about how to stay cool and comfortable when you're camping in the warmer months.
Yeah, the warmer months. It's hard to escape the heat.
It
I
is.
think when you're camping, because we don't have an insulated house, or I guess there are some cooling things you can take with you, but we don't have an evaporative system that just attaches to the tent. Although I have seen some photos of people who've adapted it as such, but we don't
Packed a huge air
condone
conditioner.
that.
No, don't condone that at all. And I mean, obviously camping in the warmer months is going to be different for a lot of people depending on where you are in Australia. It could be like super humid and sticky, or it could be really dry and like packing close to 45 degrees. So there's a couple of different ways that you can make your experience a little bit better, but they also will depend on the sort of heat that you're dealing with as well.
Yeah, humidity is hard to escape too. I mean, I prefer hot and dry sort of weather. I've always said I reckon the worst weather to camp in is wind. Wind's just the pits. I can handle rain, cold, heat, but wind's the pits.
Wind is the pits.
That's probably getting a bit off topic. We're talking heat today. But obviously shade's the big thing. If you can get shade in that sort of hot, dry environment, you can escape the heat mostly. But if it's humid, it's a little harder. I don't have any real first-hand tips because we're based down here in South Australia. We don't have a lot of hot, humid sort of months to camp in. It's usually a hot, dry sort of environment.
Originally, I'm from Queensland, and often when it's humid, it's also overcast. So it's not necessarily like shade is a factor in those particular conditions. I mean, when I say I'm from Queensland, it was like when I was born there and I was a little kid there. So it's not like I have a huge amount of experience of camping in that environment. But I guess would just be like humidity. I'm assuming it would just be a matter of sort of keeping up your ventilation and trying to create areas for airflow. Like if you are having a shelter or something like that, strategically using your walls that you might put up on your shelter or the position of your tent and things like that to try and make sure you're taking advantage of the natural breeze.
I think so, yeah. Like a tent for a hot, humid environment is one that's generally got a mesh in it because you usually need to be equipped for fair bit of rainfall as well in a humid environment. So a full mesh inner gives that breathability, and hopefully you can sort of open the windows to allow that airflow. That's going to be your best bet, isn't it? Obviously, humid environment, staying hydrated as well is going to help. Staying hydrated just helps you keep more comfortable because you sweat more.
You do.
But I would say, so first tip of our episode is to, if you're looking for a tent for a hot and humid environment, get one that's got lots of mesh in it. If it's got a full nylon inner, it's going to be much hotter and harder to kind of get that airflow through it.
I mean, and speaking of tents, there's also like darkroom technologies and tents that have like that light suppression coating on the inside.
Yeah.
I think some of them do say that, you know, with cutting out that light and that UV input, it also can contribute to keeping the space at least a little bit cooler than the external ambient.
What do you reckon though?
Well, I don't know. I think it comes down to set and setting. I mean, like if you're going to be setting your tent up in the middle of a paddock and you've just got full-blown sun, doesn't matter how dark it is, it's going to turn into an oven. Whereas if you're taking advantage of that dark room light suppression technology, but you're also picking your location in terms of having shade, but obviously not under massive gum trees that might drop boughs and branches and things like that. But yeah, if you're in an environment maybe close to a water source or something like that where you've got a lot of natural cooling happening anyway, you're in shade, you've got a bit of a breeze, I think that's when those particular features of those styles of tents, you're going to notice the difference.
Yeah, I think so. My experience with that light blocking fabric, which is fairly new. We've sort of probably seen it in the last couple of years, I think, come into tents, and there's more and more brands that are using it now. And it is effective, but I've actually had them set up in the hot sun.
Is that when you're doing your YouTube?
Yeah, all right. You're going to mention that every episode? It was though, but but my cameraman and I always dread the moment where we just want to zip the whole tent closed to show how dark it is on a hot day, because it is so hot in there in all in these light blocking tents. So you can't expect that thin fabric with a black coating on the back to drop the temperature to a comfortable level unless you've got ventilation. Now, what I do to make, or what I have found makes it comfortable, is to open the windows, put the awnings out, create more shade around the tent.
Yeah, like the Australian houses with the verandas around them.
Exactly. Exactly the same principle.
Yeah.
And that it blocks out, I think they say 95 or something percent. They can never say 100% of the light. And it creates that 100%, almost 100% shade all around. And then you've opened the windows and doors and let the ventilation through, and suddenly it becomes a much more comfortable environment. So there is certainly some benefit of having that light blocking technology for a hot environment, but you need to team it with ventilation.
Yes, absolutely. Ventilation definitely is the key. And I guess also when you mentioned about keeping hydrated before, especially in humid areas and things like that, another really important element is taking water with you, like being aware of what water is available to you when you go to the campsite and whether or not you need to pack it in. I mean, you can get up to like 20-litre jerry cans. You can get those hard shell ones, but you can also get soft shell ones that, you know, once you've finished using the water in them, they just roll up and pack away really small. They don't necessarily have to be big and chunky.
Yep. I've upgraded all mine recently from the hard jerry cans style water containers to the soft ones for that reason.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that.
They pack in easier. There's not a hard thing. I can sort of pack them in the footwell of the car.
Yep.
I'm getting on another topic that I'm quite passionate about, and that's weights in vehicles as well. If you pack the water in your car, make sure you pack it low. But take plenty of water in the hot environments. If you've got enough, you can also use that for cooling as well. Things like we've got, for those who are listening and not watching, we've got in front of us here this little kind of chill towel thing, which
it's like evaporative cooling sort of thing, isn't
much,
it?
Yeah, wrap it around your neck and it helps keep you cool. So if you're not, if you're taking enough water with you, then you can use a little bit of water to help you keep cool. If you're near a river or a lake or something, then obviously you can just use that water there. So
and rivers and lakes also do bring mozzies and insects and bits and pieces. Sometimes I know a lot of the time when we get calls from customers, it's like, got anything that's midge-proof? Because, you know, those buggers really can ruin a trip for sure.
What is midge-proof? Do you reckon anything's midge-proof? I've always said I don't like that. I think a tent can have midge-proof materials in it, but I'm not camping them, but I don't reckon it can ever be 100%.
I don't think it can be. And I think like a lot of brands that when I first started working in the industry might have claimed to be midge-proof don't anymore, because even if the materials themselves are midge-proof, they can squeeze in between your little zippers, and anytime you open your tent and they escape in, you know what I mean? It's just, it can be the pit. So you want to try and reduce that as much as possible. I think things like using orange light or sort of the yellowish lights instead of your bright white lights and things like that.
I think so, yeah. I just want to add one more thing to our tent.
Yeah, go do it.
Subject, because we're moving on to the insect side of it, which is a big thing for my kids in summer camping. But with tents, we sort of touched on it with trees. But if you haven't got a tree, take a second tarp and set up a tarp above your tent, so you're shading your tent. And that
Have you done that before?
Possibly. I think maybe a good scenario is using a full drive awning and then setting your tents up under the full drive awning.
Yep.
And then most of the heat is taken by that first sort of layer, that first tarp, or
gives you a bit of a buffer.
And then you're setting up your tent in the shade. And I guess that mitigates the danger with setting it up under trees that might drop branches and that sort of thing. So,
true. I mean, also on tents, sorry, because I know we went back to tents and now we're going to stay here for a bit longer. But those the materials of your tent as well, like you talked about the mesh inner before, but then also more natural, like cotton canvasy type tents and things like that. They will tend to breathe a little bit better than your nylon-y type things. So often those touring tents, you know, like your Oz tent or your Darchie or those sorts of cotton canvas tents, they tend to be a good option as well if you're doing a lot more outback or hot weather camping. That they're a good option.
I think so. Just slightly thicker fabrics as well, just offer slightly better insulation.
Yeah.
Let's move on back to your insect thing.
Yeah.
Camping near water sources, definitely beneficial to keep cool and have water at hand. In the hot weather usually means mosquitoes and a whole lot of other bugs. And usually for my family, it means I'm the only one sitting outside enjoying the stars because my kids and my wife have bunked up inside the tent and done up all the mesh doors and everything. They can still see me sitting outside by myself.
You just not get bitten? Mozzies don't like you?
Well, I don't know. I don't think people don't get bitten. I think just some people react differently.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
My wife just puffs up. Like I made her sleep.
I bet she's going to love you saying that.
Well, when I say puffs up, she just gets bitten and you can see
just reacts has a big I made her
sleep.
Saying.
The only time I made her sleep in the open in a swag in a certain environment was one night she woke up the next day and her face was just all lumpy with bites. And I went, no. Sorry. So
that's the worst.
She won't let me live that one down. But mosquitoes, orange lights, I think you said before, is definitely a big help at night. So just op around orange lights. It doesn't attract the bugs as much. I also like it because it's not as harsh a bright light. Those LED lights can be really harsh in the campsite, but the orange lights are a bit nicer.
They are, definitely.
And then insect protection, bug domes, keeps the...
Do you know what, actually? Someone up in the office, they're talking about these they swear by these. I'm getting my words mixed up here, so apologies for that. But there's these little clicker things that you can get. Yeah. If you get bitten by a mozzie, apparently you just put it against your skin and press a button which clicks it. Apparently it works. I haven't tried it myself, but apparently it's literally like a miracle treatment thing.
Yeah,
so
I've used them. I don't know what the science behind it is, but it's a piezo thing. So it's like a little electric shock that it gives you. Some people don't like it. But so I don't know whether it actually does anything scientifically to the bite inside the skin, or it just creates another form of pain for you to focus on so the itch goes away. I'm not sure.
I'm not itchy. I'm just
but
burning.
It hurts, yeah. But it must have some effect because I mean, I've been in this industry for over a decade now, I think, and they've always been in camping shops and people have bought them and use
some
them.
people swear by them.
Yeah, they have some effect. I'm sure some people it has no effect on, but yeah. What else can we say on insects? I'm trying to think if I've got anything else to add.
Well, I guess maybe we sort of covered your tent and your shelter and that sort of thing. There are some other secondary options and appliances and things that you can pack as well. I know one of the really popular ones that we have is like evaporative coolers. You can get like a mini evaporative coolers that work off 12 volt, or I think you can plug them into 240 volt as well, depending on what sort of trip you're on. I think that one of the things about those particular kind of evaporative coolers is they work off the premise of evaporating the water to cool the temperature, and then the fan sort of blows that around. And
so you're saying cooler, not air conditioner.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's not actually conditioning the air through refrigeration. So it's not like it's going to magically cool your whole space or your tent down. And it probably, because it's working off, the evaporation of water, it's not going to be an awesome option for humidity. Like if you're in a humid space, you've already got heaps of water in the air, and evaporative cooler is not going to be doing it. It's not going to work. It's not going to do anything really for you.
Yeah, the big household ones don't work in a humid environment.
Yeah, I think they're just designed. They're awesome. People love them, but they're just designed to take the edge off the heat and just make it a bit more comfortable for you. They're definitely not going to be, blasting you with some icy cold air.
Kind of a personal cooler. If we're sitting here at a table now, we had a little one in front of us just blowing cool air on us. All we would probably reasonably expect is that we would have cool air on us. Yeah. It would be unreasonable to expect it would cool down this room that we're sitting in now, which is probably 4 meters square, or perhaps
maybe if you have a smaller caravan, it might and it's running for a little while, it might do the trick on that, but it definitely wouldn't work for sort of tents or shelters or more open spaces. Yep. I think realistically it would probably be an awesome option for the times where you might pack a 12-volt fan, but the fan's just pushing the same hot stinking air that you're already sitting in around, and not necessarily generating that cool breeze that you'd like to have.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to take a step. I follow the tradition of taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back here, and go back to insects again briefly. Because when you said appliances and things, it made me think of something I hadn't mentioned, and that's there's sort of gas. They're called Thermacell is the brand. Yeah, right. A gas operated little device that you put a little pad in and it runs off gas. And because my wife's so prone to insect bites, I've actually used them, and they actually have some effect. Yeah. If you believe the hype on the package, they'll tell you it gives you a dome of protection that's 21 square meters or something like that, and that's probably the case if there's no air movement around you and the gas permeates.
Right. Yeah, perfect conditions sort of thing. That's right. Yeah.
But I've used it on a number of occasions, and I've found them to be quite useful as well. And then you've got mosquito coils and that sort of thing too. Yeah. So that was my step back. So we'll take a step forward again. Where were we? We're talking appliances.
We're talking appliances and things like fans.
Fans are great, yeah. And a bit safer probably to run overnight or in the tent, just a fan, just to get airflow through the tent. That's right.
And a lot of them are also rechargeable. As well, and they've got lithium batteries in them, so you can just recharge them on your 12 or your 24 volt. They don't have to be plugged in all the time, but I think they don't have an isolator in them, a lot of them, so you can run them whilst they're plugged in, but you can also remove them and run them separately as well, which is handy if you've got kids and you're in a tent and you just want to pop a fan in there. I think just maybe maximum runtime I reckon on high for a lot of those fans sits around about 3 to 4 hours. Just to get them off to sleep and get them through that first chunk of the night. That can be really helpful. Some of them you can get the larger ones oscillate and things like that.
I don't actually use them much. I sort of rely on the natural breeze more so, but that's my lightweight minimalist camping style coming out where I can't be bothered packing 12-volt fans in, and it's just more power.
Well, I personally don't have one, but my folks have a T-van, which is like one of those hard shell pod camper trailer type things.
Yeah.
And they've got like a actual hardwired 12-volt fan in there that doesn't oscillate or anything. But I think in that particular situation where it's not a tent and it's like a hard shelled camper, the ventilation isn't
not as good.
A great, you're limited with ventilation. It works amazing.
Yep.
And the other good thing about fans, if there are mozzies around, it makes it easier for them to land on you while you're asleep. Going back to the insects again, but like give that movement of air. That's something that I reckon, or I found that helps as well. If you got mozzies in your room and you're cranking a fan, you don't get bitten.
Yeah, I guess that's the case with the breeze too. If you've got the breeze through the tent or wherever you sit, if you've got breeze and the mozzies are having trouble landing on you. So other appliances, fridge comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Just from a food perspective, I mean, you're not going to be sitting your butt in a fridge, are you? Trying to keep cool, but
you can keep drinking water cool and that.
Absolutely.
Have a bit of a system of putting it in the fridge to cool it down. You are going to use more power if you're opening and closing the fridge and trying to keep that water cool all the time. But
another good option could be if you've set your fridge as a freezer and you're freezing drink bottles of water, you can then transfer them out to be ice in, say, an ice box.
Yep.
And then as that defrosts, you've got like super cold water.
So that's your system, right? I think you run freezer and ice.
Freezer and an ice box. That's my system.
Okay. Which once again uses more power, but if you've got the power or if you've got solar, then it's probably not an issue. So but a fridge is certainly going to help. Just take that edge off. You can sit down and have a nice cold drink, and it's going to take that edge off a little. And
also, like keeping hydrated, you can get electrolytes and things like that.
Probably for kids, particularly if you're camping in the hot environment.
And especially if you're coastal camping. I don't know about you, but if you're snorkeling and you're spending all day in the water, you don't necessarily realise how hot it is and how much you've been out in the sun, and you can get really easily dehydrated. So having electrolytes around is really helpful.
It catches up on you, right? Because you don't realise till the end of the day you sit down and then suddenly you're just really tired really early and you're not enjoying the evening. So just
sun protection as well. Sometimes, like when we're camping and getting away on adventures, there's been a couple of trips where we've sort of come back at night and we're all sitting down to dinner and we're like, oh, gee whiz, because it's not necessarily been on the forefront of our mind.
Yep.
And then if you sunburn or you get into that space where you're hot and you can't really go back from that.
No. We're usually the family that's covered up, wide brim hat and all of that because you just feel better at the end of the night for it.
That's true for sure.
I think if you're camping on hot ground too, it can be a thing. These are just little tidbits, I suppose. Try and get up off the hot ground if you're camping, or once again setting your tent up in a shaded spot. If you're setting it up on, say, a riverbed that's been in the sun all day, you put your tent on that warmth's going to be retained.
And come up through the base.
Which is a good thing for winter camping because it stays warm at night. But in summer, you kind of want to go the other way around. You want to find the shade so that you're setting up on cooler sort of cooler ground. What else have we got? I'm trying to think.
Well, you're a massive fan of packing light.
Yep.
So things like, your sleeping bags and your bedding, and just take a sheet, or a liner or anything like that. You just a lot of those liners, they have that double purpose, or I think you can get like really thin polar fleece liners that are excellent to add in your sleeping bag in the depths of winter. But they're more than enough
for summer
camping for you to just use as your sleeping bag in inverted commas there. But they will definitely do the trick. So
what else have we got? I can't think of anything else. I think summer camping is all about keeping it simple. You don't need much. Just find shade and stay hydrated.
Yeah. I think we're pretty well versed in Australia as well of dealing with the hot weather and the summer things. But I don't like the humidity thing was something that's really important because or not important, I should say, interesting. So I guess if people out there have got awesome tips for humidity, to get onto our Facebook group and chuck them in, because I personally, if I'm talking to customers from the northern end of Australia that do deal with humidity, I'm not that well versed in it. So hit us up with your tips and your tricks and some more info on that side of things. Because
I'm the same. I've camped in humid environments, but it's not something I feel like I do enough to have to put something in place to make it comfortable every time I go. I just deal with it if it's there.
Cool.
But I think that's all I've got for
me too. I reckon
summer camping. But I think actually I do have one more thing.
Okay.
Just take it slow. Don't do too much. And if you're going to go for a walk or whatever, try and do it in the evening or in the morning when it's cool. And you're camping, you're not in a rush anyway. So if it's that hot in the middle of the day, find a shady spot.
Have a siesta.
Sit down,
take
have
a book.
sleep,
read a book. Yeah,
swim,
absolutely.
Just have a drink, eat some food.
Yep.
And then go for a walk when the sun's a little lower in the sky.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sweet.
Cool.
I think we've
covered it
given
all
of our advice
for now anyway.
Staying cool when camping or enjoying your summer escapades. I'm sure as soon as we've wound up, we're going to go,
we should have said that.
Yeah. But hopefully someone will pick us up on that.
For sure.
I think that's it for today's episode, right? So if you guys do have anything to say, please jump on our Facebook group. Let us know. We'll add it in at some stage, or maybe you've got a whole nother topic for us to talk about. We'd love your input on that. You can tune in to the Snowy's Camping Show on your favorite podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you go to listen to your podcast. Tune in, sign up, jump on our Facebook page, join the group, join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget, you can check out our snow notes. Snow notes. That's our internal. Not for camping in hot weather. There will be no snow notes. Our show notes as well. Just as a run through of anything, we links in and bits and pieces of info if you miss something. So and all the bits we forgot to say now, we'll add into them as well. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. But I guess we'll catch you next episode. Sweet. All right. Cool. We'll see you then. See you later, guys. Bye.